Welcome to Lead Pods, the official leadership podcast from USMB for pastors and church leaders, where our goal is to increase our impact together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 44 of the Lead Pods. My name is Matt Ersman, and I also want to welcome you to December. If you work at a church, you know this is definitely the most wonderful time of the year, where you're probably scrambling like me to get all of your last minute Christmas details for your Christmas services, end of the year stuff, end of the year giving. It's a great time, isn't it? It really is a great time, but I know it can be stressful. And of course, the last couple years have been difficult for church leaders as well as everyone else in the world, as we've had to deal with COVID and just the many cultural things that have been going on. And so that's what we're tackling in today's episode. My guest is Josh Shaw, Pastor Josh Shaw. He leads Lighthouse Church in Denver, Colorado. And today we're talking about something cool that he and his church are doing. They are going to be hosting a conference in January 28 and 29 in Denver, called the Resilient Conference, and it's for church leaders, for those of us probably listening who have been through some ups and downs the past couple years. There's going to be just time of refreshment as well as some time for training for knowing how to deal with culture and church in the post-COVID world. So sounds like it's going to be a really great conference, and Josh and his team have put a lot of work into it. So that's kind of our main topic today, to hear about the conference and to hear what all of us can do as we're all kind of trying to figure out what church post-COVID looks like. So hope that you find this conversation really helpful. So let's dive right in. Let's take a quick break to hear from a sponsor and get right to hearing about church in a post-COVID world and the Resilient Conference with Pastor Josh Shaw.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Mennonite Central Committee. Share God's love with our global neighbors this Christmas. Delight your loved ones by choosing from unique gifts such as goats, clean water, fruit trees, books, and many more. Give at mcc.org/delight or call 888-563-4676. That's 888-563-4676 to learn more.
All right, my friends. Well, today I'm joined by Josh Shaw, joining us from Lighthouse Church in Denver, and I'm excited to talk about a conference that he has helped put together and his church will be hosting here in January. So looking forward to hearing a lot more about that. Josh, thanks so much for being with us today.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Looking forward to hearing more about this conference and learning more about you. So
yeah,
a lot of people in the MB family probably are familiar, or they've at least seen your name and they know about Lighthouse. But if people don't know you yet, why don't you give us a quick bio of you and how you founded your church, six years ago? So tell us that story.
6.5. Yeah. So kind of like a weird happenstance of finding ourselves in the MB family. So my wife and I stumbled into the MB world because of Tabor College. So she got recruited for sports, and she grew up in a Christian family. She had zero clue what the MB world was. She, typical view of Mennonites, she thought they were Amish and all that stuff, but she gets recruited to Tabor, and I became a Christian in 2007. And I had a girlfriend at the time who also got recruited to play at Tabor. And I, spent a couple years in a touring heavy metal band, which was awesome. And, and later found out that as I was 2 years into faith, I knew really nothing about my faith at all. And I didn't grow up in a Christian home. So I was at ground zero in my knowledge of Jesus. And so I was like, well, I should probably go to a Christian college because I think that's what Christian kids do. And I didn't know that there was more than one. I thought, no joke, I thought that Tabor was like a rare gem of
the Christian school.
Yeah, I had heard about Colorado Christian University because I lived in Colorado, but I was like, that's in state. I don't want to do that. So I just went to Tabor 2 years later because I had a girlfriend, and we weren't even together by the time I got to Tabor. So anyways, got to Tabor and wanted to do business. My dad owns restaurants, and he is an entrepreneur, and so is my wife's family. And lo and behold, man, we just fell in love with the church and fell in love with the belief that the church, a good local church has impact in a city and a nation. And God is often doing revival in the midst of his people first before he starts to bring transformation to the world. And so we really just began to have a vision for ministry in church and in the church. But at that time, I was probably 22, and we connected with a church in California called Mountain View Church, which is in the Pacific District, and they are all about church planting. And they were like, guys, if you ever want to plant church, we're all in. You're way too young. Like, you guys need to wait, go to seminary, all that stuff. So, but we just, there's something about this idea of planting churches, starting new churches, that was just so invigorating to us, because we didn't know that was even like legally allowed. Like, we were like, oh my gosh, like how, because when you grow up not Christian like me, and then you grow up in a more conservative Christian world like my wife did, she always attended very traditional churches that already had buildings, or everything was already pre-established. Yeah. And so this idea that like you could start something seemed like almost radical. It was like, wait, that's like, to me, it made sense business wise. My dad has always been an entrepreneur. He owns, 15 restaurants and a large conglomerate of catering companies. So starting a business never seemed weird to me. Starting a church, I thought was like, you were not allowed to do that. And Mountain View really opened our eyes to that not only is it appropriate, but it's also outrageously biblical. Like, reach lost people then need a home. Yeah. And that's how you start churches, is you make a home for lost people. And we were just like, what? This is crazy. So we were just dead set on the idea of planting a church right out of college. And then we did seminary. And then 6.5 years ago, asked 12 college students to join us on the journey of planting a church. And they said, yeah, which is crazy. And since then, it's been a wild 6.5 years of moving a lot as a church plant, moving buildings, growing. Now we just launched our second campus in February, or on Easter of this last year. So it's been pretty, and we own 2 different buildings now in an area of the country that's like almost impossible to own buildings because it's so expensive. And so Jesus has really just blown us away by like being very faithful in a very hard city. And we've been along for, the MBs have been along for the ride with us. I feel like they have been more along for the roller coaster than they expected. I don't think they were ready. I don't think the MBs were ready for like launching in a very secular city with a couple that is like aggressively like for lost people, and like our model and mode and the way we did stuff was so unorthodox. And I think it was great. I think it's just it was very fun to start with great people from the MB family, and we just pushed the boundaries and it worked. And that's what I think was pretty cool. So
nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've studied it. So you're in Denver. So when you talk about the city, you're in Denver.
Are
you from Denver originally?
Born in Denver. And then we lived all over what's called the Front Range. So Colorado is kind of a weird state in that the Rocky Mountains really create a geographic barrier. So you have the Front Range, which is the larger cities that just go up and down. You got you got Pueblo, the Springs, Denver, Fort Collins, FOCO, and then Greeley, and places are booming all in between. So I lived all over the Front Range. My wife, she's from the Littleton area. So we're the local natives. Never really felt like we could go anywhere else faithfully, because if we left, then our question was always, well, who will reach our family?
Oh yeah.
Like who, if we're not going to be bold enough to see our aunts and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters come to Jesus, then who will be faithful? I mean, like they're our primary ministry. So there was really no choice for us. We felt like Denver was the only option to plant. So
I know Lighthouse does a lot of pretty cool kind of innovative things. We might get to that. Our time's going to go fast today, but I want to make sure we spend most of our time today talking about the Resilient Conference.
Yeah.
So that's coming up in January, and you're speaking, you're hosting. Yeah. First of all, tell us what is Resilient 22? I
mean, it was really birthed out of a desire from our staff. So our staff and our elders got together, had to have been at least 3 or 4 months ago now. And we were really just in awe. So we rented this like super bougie office park down in downtown Denver. And we wanted to it was end of the summer. Colorado is like beyond beautiful for the summertime. like, it's just like, it's gorgeous and it's not too hot and it's amazing. So we rented this office space that had like these garage doors that would open up and you would just see downtown on one side and then the mountains on the other. And we were just like, oh, this is so beautiful. And it causes you to just like dream. And we all sat down and we were just kind of like blown away that over the last 2 years, since really the pandemic began, and we started kind of learning more about the pandemic and all the shutdowns and all that stuff, we were just like, wow, why did Jesus not just like bless Lighthouse? Why did we thrive? Because categorically, our church has thrived. Like, and we're not just talking traditional church growth metrics of, butts in the seats and money in the bank. Like, we're talking like, we saw more salvations than we've ever seen in the last 2 years. And we marked salvations by baptisms. And so we've seen more baptisms than we've ever seen in our history. We saw more leaders rise up than we've ever seen rise up. We've seen a unity within our church that most churches didn't experience. A lot of big churches are still experiencing disunity. And I think there's a couple of reasons why churches are dealing with disunity when they actually shouldn't need to. But we just looked back and went, wow, we were resilient in this season. The Lord really provided. And then all of us just had this overwhelming burden to say, like, there's got to be other churches that have the same story of resiliency, like something like, it's not that we figured out the Pandora's box of like perfect church, but what we felt like was we can't be the only ones that did things well enough or something happened and we're coming out of this scarred, but not destroyed. Like we're coming out hurt and tired, but not ready to quit. Yeah. And that we ended up finding out after the course of like a couple emails and text messages to buddies, that there was a whole group of churches that were kind of like, hey, we made it. And we think we have something to contribute. Like we have a voice that we hope can help other churches that maybe aren't feeling the benefits that we felt. And so, when that happened, we looked at our budget, we looked at our missions account. We realized like with the pandemic, missions opportunities have really been stifled. And, you can't just go travel to Brazil to go support the church planners in Brazil or Germany the way that we used to. We'd spend money on blessing church planners and all that. So we went, wow, why don't we use all the resources that we have as a church and let's help facilitate a time, a weekend where we just provide what we can provide and we get other churches to provide what they can provide free of charge to help churches and their pastors learn how to be resilient or be just encouraged. Maybe they are just killing it, but they're exhausted. And maybe they just need to be loved on for 2 days. Maybe they just need to come to Denver and see the beauty of Denver and have all their meals covered and the conference covered and just be loved. And it's like, well, we can do that. And then there's other churches that like may need skills, like they have no idea what to do with technology or whatever it might be. And then we have breakouts and workouts and sessions for that. So it was just birthed out of this longing to like say, if the Lord gave us 5 talents, for using the talents parable of Jesus, if Jesus gave us 5 talents and we didn't even know we got given the 5 talents, we were just given something and we didn't bury it, but we invested it. Well, it's our responsibility to continue investing in it. And that's kind of like our mindset is how can we help anybody with the investment that we've been given by Jesus. So
kind of the tagline is becoming a resilient church in a post-COVID world. Yeah. We were chatting just a little bit beforehand, the whole post-COVID thing doesn't mean that COVID's over. You're not, denying that it was a big problem, anything like that. That's not what you mean.
Right.
But since COVID was a part of our lives, church does look different, right? So why was that kind of part of your strategy here?
Yeah, I think, when you think about post-COVID, that language makes sense to 99.9% of the people in our world, right? Like everybody knows that the world can't be the same as it was a year and a half ago. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, no, it'll go back to normal. And it's like, it won't. Like even sociologists are saying like, you can't, it's actually impossible. The corporate trauma that has come about, and we're not just talking about a virus. COVID is going to be language used in 100 years from now to talk about a 3 to 5 year period of social unrest, of political, the whole spectrum of not just what happened in America. I mean, if you're aware of what's happening in our world in general, COVID brought out disunity. It brought out dysfunction. It brought out social despair. I mean, it is going to be a marker in the same way that World War II was. I mean, it's like there's going to be generational descriptions being given to COVID. And so when we say post-COVID, we're like, yo, what's the world look like now that we went from, I think Ed Stetzer said it, we went from slowly trickling into a post-Christian culture to being like literally thrusted into it. Like everybody who was hesitant to come to church, but maybe would come twice a month or once a month because they felt like there was an obligatory reason for that. It's done. Like there is no more nuns checking out your church. There is no more, you can win them with Instagram, and I know that like culturally speaking, I'm speaking from Denver, right? So Denver's a very secular city. We're like the 5th most secular city in the country. I know church planters and pastors in Texas and Louisiana and Alabama and all those church areas. They're not experiencing it to the level that we are. I get that. Like churches are packed to the brim in South Carolina. Okay, fine. But nonetheless, the broader culture is still acting post-COVID-y. They're nervous about human interactions. They're nervous about the church. I mean, the church has mishandled so much recently from both sides. Like there's always all these opportunities. And so for us, post-COVID means like, as a conference, we're saying, hey, the playbook has changed. The metrics don't work anymore. And we got to approach this, not like a revamp. We got to redo New Testament church. Like we're not saying that. We're just saying, hey, be like with the word resilient. Resilient means like if you Google it, it's pretty funny, like on how many like synonyms, like what are equivalent with resilient, but it means like easily pivotable. Like you can, transition on the fly. Someone who's resilient, like they give like pilots have like this ability to be resilient, which means they can handle stressful situations in a calm demeanor. So the word resilient, so we're just saying, hey, post-COVID has caused all of us to rethink, or it should cause us to rethink things. Well, let's find out how to be resilient enough. That way we can handle most of this. Yeah. And still reach lost people. Like, cause that's the end goal. Like we're not trying to make sure that our bank accounts are full. What we're trying to do is make sure that we have enough money in the bank so we can reach a bunch of lost people. So that's really the heartbeat. And who knows, maybe if we do this again in a year, we'll call it something else. But it makes sense now in the context that we're in. And there's a lot of pastors asking a lot of questions and leaders asking a lot of questions. And man, it would be good for all of them to get into a room and be honest with each other and ask those questions together. So, yeah.
So I don't want to give too much of a spoiler of the conference. Part A and part B, no one I think really has a good answer to this. But what's your short answer? What does a post-COVID church look like? How is it different? Obviously, there's like digital stuff that's changing we need to be aware of, but I think that's probably a small part of it. What is kind of the post-COVID church look like?
Well, fascinatingly, my opinion on the digital piece is actually pretty bad. Like I've been told by a couple of my friends that I'm very I'm aggressively non-digital. Like I think that it's only going to continue to cause the problems that we are seeing in our world. Yeah. So Lighthouse, we don't actually live stream anything. We don't have an online church audience. We killed that about 9 months ago because we thought it was a discipleship issue. But I think that, so here's what I've told our church and I've told our staff and other leaders, like we meet and we talk about it. I honestly think the post-COVID church looks like a church that has been pruned by Jesus in the way that he talks about in the Gospel of John. Like he is a gardener. He snips off what is bad. He prunes off the dead leaves and the dead, it's fall right now. And I had to hire a dude who like trims trees. And because we've got a huge tree and our insurance company was like, yo, if you don't take care, they showed up, they did like a big thing for us. And they do it in Colorado a lot because like we have really heavy snow. And our insurance company said, hey, if you don't trim that tree up, and it falls on your neighbor's fence, we're not liable. Like they were doing a liability check. Okay. And so we had to bring in an arborist, I think is what they're called. We were literally legally required to take care of the fringe of our tree and snip it off and throw it away and throw it in the grinder and basically let the tree get healthy again. And I honestly think that's just what the church is going to look like in a post-COVID world. I think that we need to rethink a lot and be super content with trimmed down, shaving off the the excess, and being okay with the fact that that means that people that we used to get really excited about being there in the room, especially as pastors and leaders, like we really care about if we're hitting occupancy, it's all got to change. Like it's just a Jesus mindset. We're in a season of pruning, and it might be really good for the church.
Yeah.
Like really good. And I hate to say it, but it's also quickened the death of churches that needed to die. So here in Denver, I would say like just in the last, like in the 3-mile radius I'm in, there's probably 2 or 3 churches that will cease to exist. And all it's done is quicken what was already going to happen in 10 years anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm not a believer that that's bad. Like, I think that churches have lifespans, and one day Lighthouse Church will die. And hopefully whoever the pastor is, when that happens, hopefully they let it die well. So I think it's good. I think it's a pruning process for sure.
Yeah, no, that's good. So back to the conference real quick. I know you've got a lineup of 15 or so speakers.
Online it's 15. We got about 25 in total that are workshop speakers and all that. Yeah.
Cool. So tell us, how did you pick these people? Who are these people? How did that actually come together?
Yeah, that's a good question. So some of it came about because we're such contrarians at Lighthouse. We are just sick and tired of like the same conference with a different logo on it. And it's like this, it's the same 19 speakers every conference. Right. Yeah. And we're just like, and the crazy thing is that we're friends with a lot of those people. Like, and I rag on some of my friends who are conference speakers. So the goal was, who's actually resilient? Like literally, like we don't care how big their church is. We don't care if they got a big platform, because we're not trying to get 3,000 people to come to this conference. We're trying to get 200 leaders, like hungry, longing for revival, desperate for a fresh drink from the well that is Jesus leaders. Like that's who we really want to come. So for us, we were like, well, if the priority isn't getting a gajillion people there, because that would actually cost a lot more money, because we're providing all the food. It's free. So bigger isn't better for us. So our goal was, let's find let's seek out diverse leaders. So we strategically looked for ethnic representation in our leadership team, or for our communicators. We looked for gender representation, and we care a lot about that at Lighthouse. And so we looked for theological representation. So we didn't want just one monolith and philosophical differences as well. We didn't want every single pastor to come up and say, this is how you launch big, and this is how you spend a gajillion dollars on your Instagram. And like, we wanted to say, like, no, like there's resilience looks different all over the country. So let's get church planters in, let's get successful larger churches in, let's get people who are prayer warriors, finance gurus, like, and the requirement was they have to volunteer their time. So no one was allowed to request flights, hotel, nothing. Wow. And so it's like, because we told them, we were like, you have something and it needs to be given away. Like no more of this, I charge $5,000 to show up for your we're not doing that. Like that's the whole point of this deal, is churches and pastors that are longing for that fresh drink from Jesus. Like they shouldn't need to pay $300 to be loved on. Like they can pay $300 to go to the next cool leadership conference. Fine. They can do that. But we want them to know that this is a no burden, beautiful time for them. And so we wanted the spirit of generosity to be in every single speaker. And so that was also a prerequisite. It was not only diversity of gender, diversity of ethnic representation, phenomenal leadership, but it was also, do you have a heart of generosity? Are you willing to pay $300 to get on a plane, and then pay probably $300 to get in a hotel, and then give your time Friday and Saturday? And we're going to give all the content out for free afterwards. So you don't get any copyrights. You get no rights to what you say. And these are the leaders that said, yeah, sign me up. Like that sounds amazing. So that was a big piece for us.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome. So yeah, huge thanks to all the speakers and to you for putting that on. Cause some conferences are just ridiculously expensive. And even if it's free, if they're going to come, they still have to travel to Denver. Yeah. And a lot of people who want to come to these things, cost is a huge prohibitor. So I love that you made it free, and kudos to all the speakers for doing that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. They're amazing people.
Okay, speaking of generosity, something else I want to hear about on the Resilient website, this whole thing about the grants.
Yeah.
Tell us about the grants and how in the world are you pulling that off?
Well, we just are giving money away, man. That's it's I don't know. For me, it's not weird or like, this is not a strange thing in the world that we were discipled in, which was the world of Mountain View Church in California. Generosity is not an option. They are a church that we were discipled under, that they give 40%, I think, of their budget to missions every single year. Church planting, leaders, people in need. When we planted Lighthouse, they were our chief supporter. I met with Fred Leonard when I was 22 years old. I was a sophomore at Tabor College, and I went out to his church in the summer. And I said, Fred, and at that time I worked for him. So I said, Pastor Fred, because he's my boss. Now
Right.
he's just Fred. Now he's just one of my best friends. But I said, Pastor Fred, what do you want to be known as when you die? And he said, I want to be known as the most generous man that's ever lived.
Wow.
And for the last 15 years, I have only seen him be generous. And, when that is ingrained into you as a brand new baby Christian, this idea that you don't just give 10%, but you get, like, you live a lifestyle of generosity and nothing in return, no prosperity junk. Like, you're just giving away because it's beautiful and good. And sociologists are now discovering, like, to be generous is like actually it gives you the highest dopamine hit you can get, like, in life. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. God created us to be generous people. And God is generous because of Christ. So our church, like, we just give away all the time. We have a baseline requirement of giving away at minimum 10% of our yearly income. And that's like, that's like writing checks, giving stuff away. If there's anything above and beyond that, traveling to go see someone, we cover the cost of that, loving on a church planner. So for us, I think we have reserved right now for this conference, $10,000 or $15,000 for the grants. And so that's the whole point, is like, we got this money. And so if someone applies for a sabbatical grant or a vacation grant, we'll be able to give them a vacation. We'll be able to give a pastor a much needed cruise. And it's like, some people think that's insane. And I'm like, no, your pastor needs to go on a cruise. Like, your pastor or AVL, they need technology. They need a new mixer. They need whatever. So Lighthouse is fronting the majority of the grants. And yet what I've seen is so beautiful is I told like 3 or 4 of our speakers, hey, we're going to be giving away, $10,000 to $13,000 in grants. And they said, oh, sign us up. We'll cover one of the grants too. Wow. And so even the speakers and their churches are saying, oh, we'll throw $3,500 into the pot. And again, that's just like, wow, like, it's like, if you model generosity, people start following. So, so that's how we're doing it. It's just, we save money and then we give it away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll bless a lot of churches. So I guess real quick, if people are interested, there's a lot of details on resilientconference.com. The grant stuff is included there.
Yeah.
And when the podcast comes out, it will not be too late to register. So please sign up if you're able to go to Denver. Yes. We didn't mention the date yet. So January, what is it again? January 28?
It's the last weekend of January. So it's Friday, Saturday.
28 and 29.
Yep. So Friday night into Saturday. And then on Saturday, we will announce the grants. So attendance is mandatory to get the grant. And God knows how many grants we'll give. I mean, if we keep getting more people to give us money, we'll give more money away.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah, there's no limitation on us being able to give. As long as the money's there, we'll keep it flowing. So awesome.
Very cool. One other thing that caught my attention. So I watched, you put out a couple of videos and some kind of promo materials about the conference. And one line that you said was, it's never been as difficult to be a pastor as it is right now.
Yeah.
So I know church has been through the ringer the past year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, the world has, but the church especially, trying to figure out how to do all this. And like you said, the pruning process. So if there's a pastor out there listening today, or a church leader, volunteer, and they're feeling just worn out, what would you say to them today?
I would say, like, the most exhausting thing about the last 2 years has not been just one singular thing. Mm-hmm. And when pastors fixate on one singular thing, that's when the burnout really begins to happen. And so, like, I was coaching a church planner last week, and I said to them, I think that the reason why most church pastors are burnt out is for 3 reasons. One is the pandemic. because the pandemic has created a whole world of problems that we were never trained to deal with. And some of the pastors in our world and some of the church leaders in our world and churches in our world, we stepped into realms that we weren't actually invited into. And we started playing a game that we never trained in. And I think that we started getting burnt out quickly because we started playing the wrong game at the wrong time. And it got us into a lot of hot water. And that happened early on. I think too many pastors, there's a lot that went into that. And actually one of my session that I'll speak on at the conference, this is like my main point, but basically there's 3 reasons why burnout's happening. And I think it's because of the pandemic. I think it's because of the people within the church and outside the church. And then it's because of preaching. And I think that most pastors, they can usually trace back the reason for their exhaustion to one of those 3 things. Either people are just ruining them, and the people in their church need a hard slap in the butt, and they need to be told, shut up and love your pastor, or else your pastor is going to quit, and you're going to blame him or her for your lack of honor. And the book of Hebrews very clearly says that there is a command for you to honor the leaders above you and make it easy for you for them to shepherd you. And if you have made it hard to be shepherded, you're a part of the problem of why pastors are burned. And I live in the church world, so I speak to pastors a lot, but this is happening all over the place, right? People are burning people out. So I think the pandemic, people in preaching, and I think that, man, like what most pastors need to hear is that all 3 of those things are almost completely they're almost outside of your realm in some way. You can't control how people respond. You can't control the pandemic, and the preaching component, that one just like wrecked so many pastors, because they went from being the guy or gal up on stage preaching to the people they know, to then having to go to a camera, to now having to do a camera plus people, and having to compete with what they think are the best preachers on the planet on YouTube. And it's like, okay, what can you control in any of that, in any of these environments? And it's like, well, I don't think you can control any of them, but what you can do is you can stop thinking that they're all your problem and they're all things that you can mitigate tomorrow, and you can simplify. So there's a lot of pastors. I think a lot of pastors out there need to hear from other pastors. Your preaching is burning you out, and it's okay that it's burning you out, but you probably should stop preaching so much. There are people that are burning you out, and you need to just distance yourself from them. And this pandemic is not going away tomorrow. So get off social media, like get off AP News, stop watching MSNBC or Fox, and like be with your wife or your husband and take a breath, because you have to be around in 10 years when our culture is longing for an answer again, because it will look for an answer again, and we need to be ready for that. So
yeah, that's good. That's really good. Okay, so people are still kind of on the fence thinking about this. Well, a couple more details about the conference. I know there's obviously the speakers, there's worship. You mentioned there's some breakout sessions. So do you know what some of the breakouts are, or what some of the other speakers will be speaking on? What other topics do you hope to cover?
Yeah. So, I mean, our first night, Friday, is going to be a night of intercession, and just like what we would say in our kind of charismatic world is just a night of like, not revival, but like rejuvenation by the Holy Spirit. He is the great comforter. I mean, Jesus tells his disciples that it's better for me to go, so that way I would send to you the Spirit of truth, the one that will guide you into all truth and comfort you and bring you peace. And so our first night is going to have a speaker, and then an extended time of worship. And then we're going to pray for every single person in the room. We have a prayer team. Probably about 30 people are going to be walking around the room with anointing oil. And we're literally just going to intercede for every single leader, because they need it. They're hungry for it. And whether that makes them uncomfortable or not, we really don't care. We're like, yo, you need to be prayed for and loved. So our first night is just going to be intercession and love and encouragement. And then the next day is we'll have a couple of like primary speakers in the main room, but then the rest of it is really just the breakouts. There'll be some worship as well, but breakouts. One of them, Esther Leonard is going to teach on the importance of prayer in this season, and the importance of teaching your church, like that, how desperate, like She's even going to teach on like the importance of having a group of people praying for the pastor. Like if you're going to be resilient, you need spiritual warriors behind you every day praying for you, and how to build a team. How do you build a prayer team? When your church is 125 people, how do you build a team of 8 people that, each day someone prays for you? How do you do that? So she'll do that. We got a breakout session with some audio visual lighting, like gurus that are going to be there. They're calling it smarter, not harder. And so their whole goal is to teach these pastors how to do technology well without killing themselves. Like that's, man, if you're setting everything up and running Zoom and then you run up to the stage and you go preach and then press record, I mean, you need to stop, and they're going to help talk about that. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. Like we got a panel that's going to talk about the ethnic diversity conversation that's living in our world today that we have to address, and do it well. Like, to not be an exhausting conversation. Finances, we got a conversation about finances and generosity. I mean, it's basically anything you could imagine. We're probably going to have a workshop on it, because there's 3 workshop sessions with at least 7 classes available. Wow. So, 21, options, which is why we're telling so many pastoral leaders, it shouldn't be you. You should not be the only one who comes. It should be your elders. It should be key volunteers, because you can't contain all the information. And 2, there's a whole bunch of people in your church that would probably love to learn about this stuff to help you. By golly, like, get them here. Like, it's free. And if you need help getting here, let us know. Like, we'll figure that out too. But flying to Denver is also very cheap because we're a hub. I mean, like, you can get to Denver with 1 flight from pretty much anywhere in the country. Yeah. And if you can bring, 4 of your key leaders and rent an Airbnb, and have nothing else to worry about except for just showing up, man, it's going to be worth it.
Very cool. Okay. And if people, whether they attend or not, I'm sure a question you've been asked, are these going to be available to watch afterwards? Are you doing some kind of video release?
Not video. So we're going to do, because the video is only going to would be our primary sessions in our main room. Okay. And those are more like your inspirational 25-minute talks. And so we will be audio recording everything. Cool. So basically on the website, a month after, however long it takes for us to edit all the content, we'll basically just have each workshop recorded, and then people can listen to it. We might, if someone donated, like 7 cameras, which I don't think is in the realm of impossibility. If someone's listening to this and they're like, man, I really wish I could watch that. We have the people to be able to do that. We just don't have 7 individual cameras for each workshop. Right. So logistically, video is not feasible. However, it would be very easy if someone wanted to say, hey, I'll donate $5,000 to Lighthouse to make that happen. We would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. We would love to give free content away.
Well, I encourage everybody listening. It's not too late to sign up. So go to resilientconference.com. It's January 28, 29 in Denver. It's free. Lots of great stuff happening there. So I encourage you to check it out. Josh, anything else to close out with today? Anything else about the conference or just being a resilient leader these days? What else do you have to share with us?
I would say that you don't have to come to the conference, but if you don't come, I think you'll be a little missed out. Like, I think FOMO will kick in, because it's like the only limiting factor is getting here. And so I know that that's a temptation to put it off. Like, oh, I don't have to pay for tickets, and there's no there's no early bird, savings. And it's like, yeah, but don't put off the opportunity to be loved, cared for, and empowered, no strings attached. Like, I know it sounds almost too good to be true, but that's the beauty of the gospel. Like, when things seem too encouraging, take advantage of that. Like, and so I would just say to anybody, like, even if you're like, I don't even think I got time for a conference, you got time for this one. Like, because you're going to walk away filled with the Spirit of God, fresh, and you're going to be excited, and you're going to learn from phenomenal leaders, and you'll have a chance. It's going to be small enough that you can sit down with them and have lunch with them afterwards. And that's another thing, man. Most conferences cannot offer you a chance to sit down with their keynote speaker and ask more questions. And at Resilient, man, there's no green room. Like we ain't hiding nobody. Like everybody is there for everybody. And so I just say like, just do it because you got nothing to lose. And we love them.
Sounds like some of the talks and for sure the workshops, I'm sure they're going to be very nitty gritty details, nuts and bolts kinds of things. But I love that you're starting off with prayer and just encouragement, because I think that's probably what people need more than tips on lighting, is just help from the Holy Spirit to just refresh their spirits after the past couple of years.
Yeah. And I know the tendency of most pastors is to say, oh, well, I won't go to that session. I'll come in a little late. Cause like, no, I don't really, do I really need that? And it's like, oh yeah, you absolutely do. First and foremost, you need it because right now, most of the time, our pastors and our key leaders, they're not like, we haven't had a refreshing worship experience in probably 2 years because we're trying to make everything run.
Right.
And so if they show up and then it's an hour of beautiful worship led by a team that's better than any of their teams at their churches, because we're not like using our volunteers. We're using all these amazing leaders from our city that also love these pastors. And so you get to come and hear worship that doesn't distract you. You get to like hear from a phenomenal speaker that's going to encourage you. Like, I know pastors have a tendency to neglect that part of their heart, which is like, I'd rather go to a conference and engage my head and my hands. What can I learn? And then what can I do? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but discipleship is tri-perspectival. It's head, heart, hands. And if you don't get from your head to your heart, then we're missing it. And so, that's the piece that like, I just know it's my tendency as well. Like if I know that there's going to be just like a worship time, a part of me is like, but I could be like networking. And it's like, no, you don't need to network. You need to spend time in the presence of Jesus, and not worry about lights or sound or anything that you normally worry about on a Sunday morning. You just need to be blessed. And we're not kooky weirdos either. So you don't have to freak out. Like nothing, Benny Hinn ain't getting on stage, bro. Like it's fine. Like, so just come. It's trusted leaders. So that's the other thing too, is anybody who's listening to this, they're going to go on that page. They're going to recognize somebody who's a speaker. And that's the goal, is if they recognize somebody and they trust that person, they know that this is a trustworthy conference to participate in. And everything we do is going to be truth-based, saturated in the Spirit of God, meant for the benefit of the pastors. So nice. I'm excited for that first night. I'm excited to see who comes and who's uncomfortable and then who leaves just like floored, just blown away by Jesus. So yeah.
I got to pause. Did you just say tri-perspectival?
Tri-perspectival.
I think that's like a 400-point Words with Friends word right there. That's tuck that one away. I'm impressed with your vocabulary.
Well, a good friend of mine, his name is Chase Davis. He wrote on spiritual formation and discipleship, and he is a published author now and has he has a couple master's degree, and I think he's finishing his PhD. But his view of discipleship, he says it's been around forever, tri-perspectival leadership or discipleship, but he gave language to it. Basically took sociology and then Christian sanctification, and then wait a second, we see people most transformed when they put all three of these things together: head, heart, hands, and so Chase Davis, I'll do a shout out to him, and he's got a great book on it too. I forgot what it's called though. So
that's okay. I'm very impressed with your vocabulary. So
there you go, man. There you go.
I'm the resilient to come learn words like that.
Come learn words like that. Yeah, that's it. That's what my whole speech is going to be on, or talk on. Awesome. So there you go, man.
Well, Josh, thanks for your time today. Thanks for doing this and for putting it on for free. I think it's awesome what you're doing. So thanks for I'm sure it's a ton of work getting it all organized. So thanks for that and all the work that you're doing at Lighthouse, and others. You're doing some really cool things in Denver. So thank you for all that you're doing. Grateful for your time today.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
What would it feel like for you to be living at your full potential? What if you were regularly connecting with someone who accepts you unconditionally, believes in and affirms your potential, actively listens to you, and keeps you accountable to help you reach your goals? A life coach will get you there. Coaching is an intentional one-on-one relationship that empowers people to realize their full potential in personal living and vocational accomplishment. Lead coaching is facilitated by trained MB coaches who serve as a life-on-life coach and is available to pastors, leaders, and anyone. To learn more, visit www.usmb.org/lead coaching or call Ed Boschman at 661-549-6021.
All right, so once again, I want to give my thanks to Pastor Josh and his team over there at Lighthouse in Denver. They're doing lots of great things there at their church, and I'm excited about this conference. And if it's something that you think would benefit you and your church, I encourage you to check out resilientconference.com. And again, there's tickets are still available, and the conference is January 28 and 29. So if you are ready for a little bit of a retreat to the mountains of Denver to hear from some great speakers and learn lots of new things, and also just refresh your soul, refresh your spirit a little bit as we lead into this new year. Sounds like it's going to be a really great thing. So check out resilientconference.com, and I encourage you to sign up, take advantage of all this great work that Josh and his team are doing. All right, so we are wrapping up the year. We've got one more episode for you dropping here in a couple weeks before the end of December. So we'll look forward to sharing that episode here shortly. Have a great couple weeks, and we'll see you one more time here for the last episode of the year right here on Lead Pods.
Thanks for listening to Lead Pods. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing to our show wherever you're listening today. Learn more by visiting usmb.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time as we learn more practical tools to increase our impact together.